Everybody gather round, come on in, let's have a sit down and talk about what's going on. Put it on the table. Let's talk about it. Put it on the table. Let's talk about it. Put it on the table. Put it on the table. Put it on the table. Welcome to the pot. Put it on the table.
Hello and welcome back to the pot. Today's episode, we're talking about family ties and the knot that binds. What is family ties and what are the knots that bind? We're going to dig deeper into it, so here we go. Again, what does the tie represent?
That is a good question.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Well, what comes up to my mind is bringing something together.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what comes to my mind.
Okay.
Mary.
Well, when I think of a knot, I think of things that come around in full circle and, Shalita.
Automatically, I envision, like when you're teaching a child how to tie a shoe,
Mm-hmm.
and you crisscross applesauce, and you're just bringing things together, and
Right.
you see how the strings come together, and then the knot just solidifies that whole tie.
Mm-hmm.
So a family tie would be all the people within a household that come together with a solid foundation of what brings them all together,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you have?
So-
Charles?
When we think of the tie is actually the connections.
Mm-hmm.
We use family. They are the children.
Mm-hmm.
What its job is to do is to grab onto or grab hold of. That's its job. So the tie is my connection to you, my children, my cousins, my aunts, anything that is of that family.
Right.
So that's what the tie is. We're going to go a little deeper and discuss what the knot is. The knot is actually the foundation, the source. So if you think spiritually, we're talking about God. God is the source. We are the children. We are who are of Him. We're of Him. So that knot that's our knot. My knot is God.
Right.
I know if it weren't for God, then I'd be just lost.
Yeah.
There would be nothing for me to grab onto.
Right.
Right.
So the knot is actually, that's its job to be the foundation of. Family ties. What is it that causes family to be?
Well, I think when you say what causes family to be, are you meaning like what establishes family?
What is the
What is it?
definition
A
of
family?
family? Yes, I'm sorry.
Well, what I think what's the definition of family is, it could be either biological, or it could be spiritual, or it could be a friend, something that connects you in a deep way, we talked about giving the last episode. So it's something that you can, you can give and you can receive from a person, you know, on a spiritual level. You know, sometimes we need encouragement. Sometimes we need to be lifted up, you know. And when you have a person that you can call upon, that's dependable, that you can rely on, that's going to give you an encouraging word, that's going to build you up when you're broken or feeling down, that to me is a big part of being a family to me,
Okay.
you know.
Brother Thad, what you got?
Well, a family, a definition of family to me is the relationship
Mm-hmm.
that each individual has that cannot be broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something that, in that relationship, it is something that will always keep us together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel that the definition of a family
Through
is.
everything, yeah. I
Through
agree.
everything.
I agree. A group or unit or a body of people that are genetically connected in some kind of way.
Right.
It's beyond our control. First off, we have to understand that it's beyond our control
Yeah.
the way God establishes or designs a family. A lot of times we come across people, or I've come across people who get offended by things and they make their own decision on the family breakup. You know, I'm done with, we don't say you're not my family no more. Some of them do, but
Yeah.
for the most part, we just
Some of
duck
'em
off.
do.
We cut off and duck off. And that's not your choice, it's not your call.
Right.
You have free will to not talk to, but you also have to take in consideration the damage that it does.
Right.
Because if we were allowed to be on our own, God wouldn't have made it possible for a family to be. So we have to take in consideration. God laid everything the way he laid it. Now we have to operate in it. So,
I think the whole concept of family is important to understand because it helps you, like you said, it's about relationship.
Yeah.
It kind of helps bring light to what God created us for concerning family and why he established family. You know, we try to find a reason, but God has I don't want to say reason, but he has a purpose,
right.
you know, for the establishment of family in the earth realm. And so once we grow and understand what that establishment is, then I believe as we get older and we have our own families, we can pour that into our children and it can continue to go on, and those family connections will remain strong, and not just for immediate family, but extended family as well. And, you know, biological family is important, but also spiritual family is important as well. You know, we're dimensional people, the mind, the body, and the soul. And so what we need within our family physically, we also need spiritually,
I agree.
you know, as well.
So let's just dive into a question that I had on my mind. What are issues that cause disconnections and separations in family? Charles, what do you think about it?
Off top, we've been talking about this a whole lot. We've talked about pride.
Yeah.
Pride is the one thing that tears apart. But there's a lot of different things that branch off pride. You have jealousy.
Yes.
You have envy is the same thing pretty much, but you have rage. You have all these things. It becomes a selfish mode. I'll put it like that. When you become this selfish person,
Right.
and because of an offense, you make the decision to cut off,
Right.
when there's always a way to fix things. A lot of times we don't want to take the high road. We go this way
Right.
because this is where our feelings are. We're hurt. and we're going to stay in this section here, where the connection breaks off and you just roll that way.
Right,
The connection is up here.
right,
Whether you make that attempt or the other person makes the attempt,
right,
there's a way to reconcile or to communicate.
right,
First off, that's the first step, is to make the attempt to communicate what the issue is
yeah,
and see if it can be worked out.
Right.
It can always be worked out if you put your pride aside.
yeah,
But
definitely.
like I said, the pride is the ultimate reason
Yes.
why family ends in brokenness.
Right, it definitely is. That's what it leads to, the pride. You know, and it's a lot of different reasons why, you know, families get disconnected and separated. One is trust. You know, I trusted you with something, and you broke it. You broke the trust between us, or favoritism. You know. Mama like you more, daddy like you more, you know. He gave you candy and he didn't give me no
That's that
candy.
jealousy, yeah.
And you know what I'm saying, or you know, and it was the same thing with Cain and Abel, you know. You know, Cain was jealous that Abel was getting favored by God, and the offering that he gave was more, you know, acceptable. You know.
Yeah.
What was you gonna say?
Huh?
You had something to say?
Oh,
Because you was making some faces over there. You know?
I didn't mean to make those kind of faces, though. You know what I'm saying?
What was you gonna say?
But it for me, I mean, I do, you know, agree with that what you were saying, but for me, the issues that brings a family apart is the teaching.
Woo!
You see what I'm saying?
Get out of my notes.
Because when I was a child, my mother was single for a long time,
Yeah.
and I didn't have no male figure to teach me on how to be.
Right.
But yet, my mother always told me that the things that I did and said and how I reacted, it reminded her of my dad. Now, this is somebody whom I never seen before in my life.
Right.
I met him for the first time when I was 40 years old. But to illustrate his character was something that was amazing to me, because I didn't know what to do with it,
Yeah.
you see. But if we ever go into teaching our children on how to be one, then that will solve a lot of issues.
Yeah.
You wouldn't look after yourself. You wouldn't say, well, it's all about me.
Right. You will be your brother's
You
keeper.
see.
Yeah.
But everything that every individual do as adults, they learn as a child. Just like a woman who learned from her mother that, girl, you better look out for yourself. Don't do a joint banking account, because you got to keep your money right here and let his money be your money. And that way, when he leaves, girl, you will be ready and you will be stable. But see, that's the wrong
Yeah, it sure
teaching.
is. Yes. Yeah,
Because
that's so
then
right.
in every relationship that woman gets in, she has no trust. And the only thing that will be in her mind is how long will this last?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it is the teaching that really, you know, gets me to help. You know, that is the biggest issue.
Right.
It's the teaching.
Right.
Because me and my wife, we have issues. But then in those issues, I talk to her and not at her.
Yes.
Right, yes,
Amen.
Yes.
But see, as a child, I was told that if you're the man, you tell the woman what to do and say. And she better do it.
And you done lost your way. No. You know.
But you see, but it is in that teaching that you learn that
Yeah,
brings
right.
forth pride.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
That brings forth all these other things. And it is the main issue is the teaching.
Yeah.
Why did you break up?
Right.
What wasn't good enough? For what?
Yeah.
When you were together, you had me.
Yeah.
So now you want to leave. And then it leaves children growing up saying, okay, so then what's wrong with me?
What did I do?
Right. True.
Am I the cause of this?
Yeah.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
It's funny. You just had made me think about something.
Well, hold that thought.
Yes.
This is
Hold
really
that thought.
getting good, and I'm excited about the meat
Yeah.
of what's going into this pot. When we come back, we will stir the pot a little more about family ties and the knots that bind. And this will be our 4th episode of the love language. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss. Welcome back to the pot. Thank you for tuning in, but we're going to continue to dive into
All
this
right.
pot and stir these ingredients on the family ties and the knots that bind. When we left for break, we were talking about teachings and what was left out or what was missing.
Yeah. So when Thaddeus was talking about the teaching, he mentioned a couple things that made me think about what was missing in a broken family. I thought about the respect. He said something about respect or something, but the respect and the love is what's missing in broken families. Like I said, love covers a lot of boundaries. It covers a lot of ground, and
Yeah.
we think about love as opposed to pride. This is the determining factor of whether the family will mend or stay broken. So the very thing that's missing from the broken family is love.
Yes.
The definition of love. What I would ask y'all what I'll just say the definition of love. I wrote down that love is an action given or shared mirroring the one God who we're talking about. We know that God is love, and he's the ultimate example. He is what love is, but it mirrors him in an unconditional way. Well, just like he is, he's unconditional. It mirrors and exudes an unconditional action. So
then it's safe to say, when you're talking about broken families and what's missing, then ultimately that's love. And when you think about this generation and this day and this time, there are so many reasons, for the lack of better words, that we have children. And as Brother Thaddeus was speaking earlier, coming from a single parent home, I was that single mom, and
Yeah.
my decision to have a child had nothing to do with me wanting to just have a complete family. It had to do with me proving that I can have another being that will love me unconditionally and another being that I can love unconditionally. But how can I give that or teach that when I had no clue of what true love was?
Right.
Now, I grew up in a two-parent home. My dad was my pastor most of my life, so I also grew up in church. But at the same time, when I decided to develop my own personal relationship with God,
Right.
I realized that a lot of things that I had been taught and shown and the examples that I had been given were religious, and they were also out of another broken state.
yeah.
So I wasn't taught true love, I was taught brokenness. So when I had children, I'm teaching them brokenness.
Right.
Or being a carrier of that child, I'm filling them already with brokenness.
Right.
That's it.
The seed of brokenness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. So, man, when you think about family and how many families have continued on that very
cycle.
the
Yes.
cycle of brokenness.
Or the generational curses.
Yes.
As
Because
some would say.
yes, and it's because you finally get the revelation of what it was illustrated in the Bible, where it says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and that when they get older, they will not depart from it.
Right.
You see, and the things that we ought to teach is something that what y'all have been saying is something that we never once received,
Yeah.
Right,
and that is the true love of Christ.
right, that part.
You see,
Man.
And that's what's really missing in the families. We don't have a source to hold on to. We do, but we don't accept it.
Right,
If God said in all our ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path.
Yes.
If we focused on that scripture alone, we would understand that there is a way back from a disagreement or an argument.
yes, there is.
yes.
There's always a way back.
Yeah.
It's up to us to choose how this is going to end.
Right,
If you write your own story, you're the only one who can end it how you want to end it.
That is true. You know, one thing that I tell people how my wife got me, you know what I'm saying? Even though I did express my love to her, you know what I'm saying? In the beginning, she said, I can't see that. But but the one thing that how she got me was the words that she said, and that was in the moment of when we was getting ready to have an argument. I was bouncing around like I was finna go 12 rounds, you know what I'm saying? You know, I was ready. And all she did was look at me and turned and walked away. And then she went into her room, and then I was like, whatever then, I'm finna go. I'm gonna get out of here. And then she called me, and she said, where are you? She said, are you gonna be that one that always runs when the situation is at hand? So I like, man, whatever. I turned around and came back. You know what I'm saying? I came back. And then she told me, she came out of the room, and then she told me, she said, I don't ever want to say anything to you that I can't take back. Because every time when we get into an argument, the only thing that you will remember
right.
is those last words that
Right,
I
those
said
negative
unto you.
words.
So I want to speak to you in love, but I also want to tell you the truth. And right then and there, as I said, you ain't going nowhere. You mine. I ain't got nothing else to say. There's nothing. You good, whatever. Tell JoJo and Tyrone they can go on. You know what I'm saying? I'm just good.
Right.
You know, but the way that she said those words to me, it was something that I never heard before.
Yeah.
Because she said, I want to speak to you in love, but I also want to tell you the truth on how you made me feel.
Right.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
And right then and there, it was something that I tell people, I didn't fall in love with my wife. I be in love with my wife.
Absolutely.
Because it grows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you grow.
But when a person
Grow in
falls
love.
into something, they will always trying to find their way out.
That's true.
So I never tell
Amen.
anybody I fell in love.
Right.
Because a person that falls always wants to get out
That's true.
and come up.
Or
Yeah.
they break something when they fall.
You
Well,
see,
well,
that's it. There it is.
that's another episode. That's another episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Just,
cooking.
just hearing you mention all that, I mean, it just makes you realize, you know, the upbringing, you know, the training and the teaching that you receive, but also it just shows as we grow and mature in our relationship with the Father,
That's it.
you know, how we can go back and correct some of those wrongs
Those wrong teachings.
that, yes, that we've become accustomed to and have, it's become our norm. So that when we see the truth or we hear the truth or learn about the truth, it seems strange, but it shouldn't be. But if you break out of that box of that abnormal that you thought was normal, it's abnormal, and come into what he has established, then that very question that you have about what tears families apart will be the very thing that brings them back
Right.
together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because each of us within the family, I'm a string, you're a string, we're all strings, but then there's that family tie,
Mm-hmm.
and then that knot that binds.
Right.
God.
Yes.
Right. You know,
So-
I think that when you set down the pride, you know, and you find yourself in the picture, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when we been hurt and someone, you know, does something to us, we see the picture and they did this and they did that and they did this to me, they said this to me and they treated me like this or they broke my trust by doing this. When you find yourself in the picture and say, well, I did that, and I did do that. Well, yeah, I did that over there too. You know, you can find yourself in a more humble position to be able to say, listen, you know, I apologize for my part in this whole situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I apologize that I gave up on you or whatever I did. You know, now I can come and say, listen, you know, I want things to be, you know, the way that it was before.
Right, right.
You know, I want things to reconcile. I want to get back that thing that I lost with you, you know. And I think that's important to find yourself in that picture. You know, because like I said, oftentimes we're so fixated on the pain and what they did and what they said and how they treated that we don't see
Yeah.
our part in the whole situation.
Right. It's go ahead. Go ahead.
Once again, you know, hearing what you all are talking about just makes me realize we don't teach our children how to respect the thoughts or the feelings of our siblings, or
Right.
we don't, as parents, you know, we're quick to say, you know, you have to respect me.
Right.
And then when the kid comes back and say, well, you have to respect me. Well, you have to earn the respect. And now you find yourself arguing with a child
Right.
Yes.
about something instead of just sitting them down and just explaining, you know, that we have to have boundaries. You know, you set healthy boundaries
Yeah.
within that family unit so that, you know, from my mom, I'm the oldest. So I remember growing up and having, like, to me, huge responsibility of helping my mom and my dad, you know, be a caregiver per se, you know, for my younger siblings. And as we got older, you know, I'm not that much older than the one up under me. If I try to tell them to do something, not trying to be the mama, but just, you know, this is what we're supposed to do. Well, you're not my mama. Okay, you know, if we take that issue back to mom and daddy and say, okay, well, when you were gone, I tried to tell sis or brother, you know, that you wanted to do this, and they're not listening. Okay, how do we handle that? You know,
Yeah.
we know that there's no book for parenting, you know,
Right.
how to be a parent. It's a learning, you know, situation.
Yeah.
But how do you go back, sit your children down, and teach them about respect, teach them about
Right.
boundaries, and express to them, explain to them in a way that reaches them at their level of maturity and their level of growth, to where they can understand, you know, this is what we've established, and this needs to be respected, whether me as the parent am here or not. And if we put this child in a place where you have to listen to them while we're out of the picture, then that's what you do.
Right.
And then as an older sibling, I had to learn that I can't abuse that authority,
Right. Yeah.
that, you know, or that position that my parents put me in when they're gone, because I'm not the mother.
Right.
But I will say, being African American and coming up in an African American household and being around other African American families, we tend to shift the responsibility of parenting to our children in a way that's unhealthy. So
Right.
when you ask these questions, what are some of the issues or the things that cause breakdown in the family? A lot of those things play a part in the breakdown, because we are stepping into another lane. I'm the child, I'm not the mom. You're the mom, you're not the child. You're the mom, you're not the dad.
Right.
Or the dad is just missing, and so I'm your mom and your daddy. No, that's not correct.
It's
You
not.
know, so
Right.
there's a lot of shifting that we have to do, and breaking down walls and barriers, old ways of thinking, about family and how it is established and how family needs to maneuver in the earth realm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So is it safe to say, well, let me say this, is there a such thing as, going off here, I was actually going to talk on something else, but you took me another way. Is there a such thing as respecting a child's position?
Let's hold that thought. We're gonna go take a short break, and we will come back and put it on the table. Thank you for tuning in. We were talking about love pertaining to family, the family ties and the knots that bind. You guys do not want to miss the next episode. If you like this episode, love it, like it, tweet it, subscribe it. Don't forget to subscribe it. And I said, don't forget to subscribe it. And then again, I said, don't forget to subscribe it.
Yeah.
You know, get your friends to like it. Get your friends to subscribe it.
True.
Listen, we want to put it on the table. And we want y'all to put it on the table with us, all right? So tune in for the next episode of the pod as we put it on the table.